is up?
Hey, everybody. Welcome.
Welcome. Neil from Sarasota.
Yeah.
Jackson Stoddard from San Diego. What's up,
What is
brother?
up, guys?
Hey, Jackson.
Jackie.
Been
And we
too
got
long,
Mr. Patrick.
Jackie. Where you been?
You're muted.
I've been
You
here,
look foolish when you talk when you're muted.
but I still look kind of cute, right?
Yeah.
Just working, man, behind the scenes. Got
Behind the scenes, you're in
contracts,
front of the
writing.
scenes.
What's that?
I see you in front of the scene sometimes. these days.
Sometimes, you know, I like to switch it up.
Right?
How are you guys? What's up, Neil? Jeff?
Buddy, good to see you.
We're
Good to
good.
see you.
Good.
I
I'm
like your hat,
traveling.
Patrick.
Thank you. It says LeadSnap on the other side of it.
We're matching.
We're traveling. I took our RV and we didn't want to deal with the cold weather, so we're down in South Florida right now.
Okay.
More south than you, Neil.
We got snow like an hour east from us out in San Diego. It's freaking cold.
Yeah, it's no fun. It was 85 degrees here. I went jogging on the beach today. That was pretty awesome.
Nice.
We're staying in this this RV resort place that has the Americans are the minority here is what I've learned, which is fine. But
Must
they
be
don't
in-
speak English. What's that?
Are you near Miami?
We're about an hour north of Miami, just kind of outside Boca Raton. So there's a lot of French Canadians here, which I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And they're like, "Phew, I don't see you," but I'm gonna start trying out some bonjours and see if that changes their attitude. I'll speak their language. Cool. So, who's got some wins?
Real quick.
It's crickets.
Real quick.
What do you got? What do you got, Neil?
You know, and I've said this to other people. The best thing about living in Sarasota, in the winter, all your friends and family come to visit you. The worst thing about living here is in the winter, all your friends and family come to visit you.
You picked them.
But I've had some friends I haven't seen in like over 30 years come down, and that
That's cool.
camaraderie is still there, you know? So
Yeah.
it's, to me, that was a big win. Seeing someone you haven't seen in so long and it just clicked like you never, missed a beat, you know? So,
Yeah, I know the feeling. That's always fun. Jackson, I think you had a win, right?
I got to win, guys. I got to win. Feels good to win.
Tell us
sometime.
about it.
So I've been working on building a Facebook group in a niche, landscaping, and positioning myself as an authority, developing them content, whatever. I actually joined a group the other day and posted, I guess I'd call it a tripwire, just saying, hey, I got some free value on how you can actually rank your Google My Business. We've got clients doing about 10K a month in leads in training for their Google My Business. And I got like 150 people to comment. I got a bunch of likes, and I've been prospecting and now talking to a lot of these people, and hopefully going to close a few deals out of it. Got some more people in my group. So just got a lot of leads, right? In about an hour and a half. I got so many comments that Facebook actually shut off automatically the comment section because I got too many people commenting. Yeah.
That's cool, man. So tell us now. That's awesome. Is there anything you can share about the post? I think you had said something just now. You said like anyone looking for strategies on how to rank a Google My Business. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So obviously I was using like a lead gen type approach, but I said we got our Google My Business from zero, or let me actually pull it up. I think I have a screenshot here. So I basically just posted in a Facebook group with my target market. And I said this right here. I said, we bring in well over $10,000 a month in jobs from our Google My Business. So I made a guide on setting one up. Who wants it? Got about 50 comments, and you can see at the bottom here, Facebook automatically turned off commenting just because everything was coming in so quickly. Bad news is I got kicked from the group because they don't want marketers in there. And it went so viral that like everyone was just blowing it up. But I was able to pull out about 140 people just from that post. And now I've got them all directly messaged. I've added them as a friend, and I'm pushing them into a Facebook group now where I'm going to remarket to them with new content, other free resources, and eventually get them onto discovery calls and sales calls and turn them into the clients.
What group
Super cool.
did you go into that you got kicked out of? Was it just like a general contracting group?
Just like I think it was deck repair and installation, like deck and docks or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did another one of these about a month ago. Similar results, also got deleted, but I was able to scrape up about 50 leads from it. I just said, hey, I created a PDF and how-to video on 5 tips landscaping companies can use to get more appointments. Want it? Comment below. I got about 31 comments on that, 9 likes, and a bunch of people I'm still talking to. This guy, Charles Miller, he's actually potentially going to move forward tomorrow on a $600 a month like SEO deal.
And then they approve the post, but then they kick you out of the group later or something.
Yeah, so usually it's like free to post, but
like a hit and run.
Yeah,
Right.
get it in there, and then they might see it and be like, this guy's just a marketer, and kick me out.
That's a marketer. You make the wheels go round.
Yeah. But they don't like me spending, I guess. But yeah, like something like this. So I got a spreadsheet of like hundreds of groups that I've joined. And this one's like lawn care pro, solo operators, got 17,000 people in here. I mean, all I do is I hop on here, I type in, free PDF. And then I hit this little button here on the bottom left. So I can like make it look kind of pretty. And then I just like write some copy in there, something kind of clickbaity, maybe say like, hey, we just brought in 113 leads last month for our tree care company. Comment below if you want to see how we did it. Right. And I'll get a bunch of people commenting. So it's kind of tricky because sometimes you'll get kicked out. So you just got to be careful and try to build relationships first, comment in the group, bring value to people, kind of get a name for yourself. You're going to have better odds doing that way than just like hopping into these groups and spamming it. So, that's what I've been doing. I've been working on that for like 3-4 months here.
Nice job, man.
Thanks, guys.
So what's next then? So now you've got all these people, and what's going to be your play to transition them, just like kind of high level, broad strokes of how do you take them now from this like semi-warm lead into being a paying client, and then once they're a paying client, what's going to be your game plan for delivering them whatever you promised?
Okay, so as far as it goes for like nurturing the lead into a close, I'm putting them all in a Facebook group that I own, and I'm planning on creating content in there that has kind of prompts them to get on a call with me, right? That initial discovery call will tell me, where they're at with their business, if they're even worth following up with. I'll put them into a CRM that I use to track them in the pipeline. I mean, you've got things like HubSpot, Close.io, ActiveCampaign, all those different softwares. Lead generated obviously has one, LeadSnap. And with that, I'm able to follow up with them later, have specific messaging that gets them onto calls, gets them in email sequence, and just kind of push case studies their way, build trust, build value, build rapport with them, and then figure out if they really have an issue that I can solve. If they do, then I'll, pitch them on my idea. If they don't, then, obviously they can stay in the group, get the free value, and hang around, and maybe 6 months down the road, they'll see something posted and come back around and pay with me anyways. So as far as it goes for fulfillment, I have a fulfillment partner. He deals with all the SEO. We've got a white label company that we use. I think it's Invisible PPC that we do for our paid ads. We're looking for something else, honestly, because it's so friggin' expensive. It's like a minimum ad spend of 1,000. So it's kind of tough to do like the go fast, look sexy method on like, hey, we're going to run ads for you guys so we can get you those deliverables like right up front, make you enough money to cover the marketing costs that we're going to be collecting from them while they wait for those 3, 6, 12 months to get ranking on the SEO and make that money on the back end once that product's fulfilled. So mainly just SEO, pay-per-click, and then we're also doing software as a service where we help them with like lead nurture campaigns, database reactivation, stuff like that.
That's super cool. So while you're, let's say that you get one of these people in and then you're going to start running ads for them. is the plan to run ads while you build out a lead gen and try to get things organic and then turn off the ads and rely on the lead gen long term?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll shout out to Nick Wood here. I don't know if you guys know him, but he's got a really good sort of method on closing deals up front, collecting money up front before building out that lead gen. Ideally, that's why I've niched down. That's why I've tried to brand myself more and start to become an authority in one niche. So when I'm talking to these people, they can see all the results that I've done in the past for somebody that's like them. Collect that money up front, run a little bit of money into pay-per-click just to get them some leads right away, and then put some of that money back towards a lead gen site, get the Google My Business set up, and get that website and that lead gen site set up.
Yeah. I mean, obviously this method has been around for a while. I hope it goes better for you than it did for me, because I invested a lot of time and money in trying to get good at Google Ads. And, you know, we got our cost per click from like maybe it was our cost per conversion. I don't know. I spent like $120 and I got it down to like $18. And then it was still really, it was a ton to manage. And that's why we moved away from parts of that model, where you could still kind of run the same model that we're running. I would be interested to see how this plays out, but the tweak that we made, because we started out doing it the way you are, where we could easily close people and get people into our world, and then you're on the clock. And it just felt like a lot of pressure where, okay, this person's probably going to pay for 3 months before they get pissed off if they're not really getting good results. And we were losing money on ads and they still weren't happy. And then I hired like an ads company that I was spending like $4,000 or $5,000 a month. I think at that point we were spending about $30,000 a month on ads. And then it was like an additional 4 to 5 to have this company manage it. And I mean, we were just losing all kinds of money, and the people still weren't really like thrilled with it. So then the change that we made is we pivoted to where we like take a startup fee, and then we're like, you don't pay anything until we bring leads in. So we take that startup fee, then start building the lead gen sites. And then we would not start them out. I mean, we would start them out at whatever it was producing, right? So if you're doing like landscape and you say, hey, this is worth like $40 a lead, and the site's bringing in like 10 leads, then we're going to start out at $400. And then when it goes to like, 20 leads, it's going to be $800, and we paste it that way. But like, I wasn't an ads master, but that was just my personal experience. And I kind of felt like the relationship with the client was salty a lot of the times when we were in that phase. And then when the lead gen stuff really started to kick in, now they're like my best friend, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd love to find a way if you can find a way to make this work. But man, I've spent a few $100,000 on ads trying to make it work the way you're doing it.
Yeah.
Once again, I mean, there's a lot of ways to do it differently. Some of the groups that Jeff and I have been in, there's some guys in there that are just like unbelievable with the ads. And I'm sure somebody like that is going to have better results than we did. But it is almost like a whole nother world to get into, right? It's not,
it's
not like
it's such it's such a best case scenario, like assuming that you can throw $1,000 at ads and guarantee a number of leads. I mean, you've got guys that pay, like for me, I'm in San Diego and I work in automotive, and these guys are cutthroat out here. I throw up a lead gen site in 4 months. I've got like 10 one-star reviews from, I know they're competitors. They're not coming through my site. I know that for sure. My guy's really good at what he does. So competing with people like that, they're going to be clicking on your ads. They're going to be running up your cost per click, stuff like that. My idea for a workaround right now is going to be using software, but creating a nurture campaign, right? So a lot of guys already have this in my niche. They use apps like Jobber, which essentially like sends appointment notifications, helps them track leads on a calendar, will send text reminders, stuff like that, right? And then after the job, it'll send like a reputation management type thing. So if I can build in stuff like this and have my SEO at a low enough month-to-month price, maybe bump it up a little bit so I can afford a lead gen site, just enough to make these guys happy, help them increase their closing rate, and then also do things like a database reactivation campaign, which I'd be happy to show you guys that right now. what that is if they have an existing list of contacts, say they have 100 contacts, right? In a service like landscaping, right? Landscapers, lawn care guys, they do spring cleanups, grass grows. Obviously, if you didn't know that, I'm sorry. It does. If we can reach back out to their contact list, we can get them to get back on the calendar with the landscaper and then close another deal, right? So I ran this for a landscaper the other day. We sent out like a 10% off offer. You might get these on your texts every once in a while or in an email when it's like, hey, 20% off spring clothing deal, right? From like Kohl's or something. Essentially, we did the same thing for a lawn care company. And we just said, hey, 10% off yard maintenance for your first week. If you sign up for, this deal, just like respond with yes, and we'll get you in. So
the strategy, I think, is what's important here, is like the nurturing part of it. If we can use our skill sets and then add in a nurturing component to this stuff, this can be really useful for our clients, right? One thing that I will caution you on with the database reactivation, I don't know if you know, I think you know this person. His name's Josh. He's out of Colorado and does like CBD type oil. Do you know who I'm talking about, Jackson? I don't want to go too deep into it, but
yeah.
You should reach out to him and talk to him a little bit, because I think he got hit with a pretty big lawsuit for like advertising to people that after the initial sale that haven't given explicit consent. Jeff,
yeah.
Do you have any non-legal? Obviously, Jeff's an attorney. Jeff, do you have any non-legal advice that you can speak to on this? I want to make sure that we don't send people down this path,
down the
right?
wrong. Yeah, down the wrong path. Yeah, definitely look at your TCPA regulations and make sure that you're in compliance, because I do know somebody personally who got jammed up with that. And I think it can be a really bad place to end up if you do it wrong.
Yeah. So yeah. Jackson, on yours, are you sending these out as text messages?
They are SMS, yes.
Do you have the option in there to click to type in stop?
Yes, we do give them that option.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, man. I would just double check that. Just
Yeah.
Jackson.
So basically, you guys are saying like if they don't opt in to agree to any sort of marketing messages, then you technically are breaking some law.
I'm not sure.
Right?
I'm not going to like say one way. I believe that's correct.
Yeah.
I think that if they purchase something from you, that is not an opt-in for like eternal
Right.
marketing, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, and just because they have their contact information, but it's probably a long shot that happens, but
well, there's a lot of people who are out there just chomping at the bit to litigate. So, there's law firms who specialize in just taking these types of cases on because they can. Because they have a federal regulation behind them. So obviously the law's on their side. And so it's okay to, my understanding at least, and non-legal advice is that it's okay to reach back out to someone who's purchased something from you and offer, ask them how it's going, so to speak. Yeah, how's your lawn? But to be like, hey, 20% off, like that's another offer. And they didn't.
They just want to rework the wording there, right?
Yeah.
And Jackson,
hey, how's your lawn? If you need any help with it, give me a call. Something like that might be okay. I don't know. I haven't really dove that far, but that could be okay, where offering a specific deal is not.
Yeah. So for me, I definitely had that idea, but I just sent it out anyways. I've only ran 2 of these, but that is something I am working on. So maybe if you guys want to check back in a couple of weeks, shoot me a DM and I'll let you know if I find any workarounds for that.
Jackson, I'm gonna throw you in a group chat with the person that I know that had to deal with this situation. So like really nice guy. I was talking to him a lot about it when we were setting up our phone system to make sure, like, what I found out is that, like, let's say that you were doing this with our phone system. My concern was that it would come back to me, but it's actually like the person who initiates it, not the owner of the phone system. So it actually, all the liability would be passed on to you, not the phone system provider. So that's why I started to dig into it a little bit. I think one strategy you could do to get around this is you could send these people, maybe you could send them like, hey, here's a guide, or like if you can come up with some kind of value where they can download something, and then you have a checkbox there that says, hey, I agree to like marketing whatever, then like that might be the permission for it. You can also build it into your form submissions. We're working towards having a checkbox that has kind of the TCPA agreement stuff that will be an option to add to our forms, so that and you'll have that kind of like proof that this person checked that box for future communications. That's cool though, man. I'm glad you've got a system here on this stuff, and it sounds like a pretty powerful pitch to get inside of these groups. It may make sense for some people have more than one Facebook account, and if you don't mind getting, like, if a person had a second Facebook account, they could potentially go into these groups and get kicked out and get the leads, and maybe it's not that big a deal because it's on this like secondary account, right? So could be a good strategy.
And you could have your primary account could go in there and be like, yeah, this dude is legit.
Yeah, I used Jackie before and like he killed it, right? Not that I'm advocating that. All right, cool. So, all right. Awesome win, Jackson. Always good to see you, man. Who else? Any other wins? Nope. All right, cool.
Patrick.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, Patrick. There's
All
Greg
right.
Adams, got to win.
Well, I just I've been out for a couple of weeks, been traveling and stuff. So Jeff, I'll be living close to you, so we'll get together here sometime next month. Yeah.
Oh wow, where are you going to be living?
North of College Station over in Hearn. So I'll be about an hour and a half from Austin.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So yeah, just a little town outside there. But so in my travels, when looking for another place back down to visiting family, I actually met with my customer that I just picked up. Kind of showed up at his place with my business coach, kind of blew him away. He actually showed up and we actually did a ride day together. So it was cool. I got to meet his whole crew and really make that bond. And of course, I was giving him all the ideas about doing video and marketing stuff with. So we just spent, a day together as a ride day. Obviously, everybody can't do that all the time, but it really made it for a good impression. And I think we got a lot of stuff that we're going to build on from that. He really wants to scale his business out. He's young, he's hungry. He's telling me all these things he wants to do. And I just want to turn on the fire hose. I don't want to give him too much, but I think we're going to really, we start this out. It all started out with a heat map, we're getting on there in the heat map. Yeah. And I've talked about this guy a while, and now he's wanting to franchise this thing out. And there's some other avenues that we're working on right now to scale it. So, yeah, that's
awesome. Yeah. Having the opportunity to meet up with a client like that and do a ride around or whatever, I think is really good for building the relationship and getting to see how they operate, what other opportunities that you have, what skills they have to create content as far as video and photos and make your life easier along the way. I'm sure that the time you spent with them will probably come back to you, 100-fold over the course of the relationship.
Sure. And he keeps messaging me, how quick can we get this, can I fire these people out of New York? Not anything wrong with New York, but I'm just saying these people, he's paying them all this money and he's doing all the work. He keeps telling me like, I don't even know why I'm paying these guys. Yeah. And so I've showed up and I'm trying to do the stuff for him and I'm just giving value. I'm nobody special. I'm just treating him like I want to be treated in a business, and he's blown away. He's just super excited about it. He's giddy like a little school kid. So
yeah,
you're not special.
Yeah, I know, right?
Hey, that's what the doctors told me, but hey, I don't.
Yeah, I've heard that before from other people who I've converted into clients, that they have somebody they're paying a decent chunk of money to, and they're like, I don't even know why I'm paying these people. And it's like, well, why are you paying? Because they don't know what else to do. So if you can get them in that conversation and you start providing value, and the same guy, I got him on, like when I think he was one of the first clients I got on board with Patrick when I came into this business, but he reached out to me the other day and just had a quick question, and he just bends over back. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. He's so thrilled. He wouldn't do anything to jeopardize our relationship. because he knows how much value we bring, you know, above and beyond. And he knows if he texts me or calls me with some question that he's going to get the straight answer and not some round of whatever trying to, you know, upsell him every single time or whatever. Like he can just call me anytime, you know.
Yeah. Lenny asked a question here. If I own all like the video content, no, not for his, but I am building all some verticals around him. It's what only thing I could say about it. He's in home improvement, but I've got some other niches that we're going down right now. And as we're rebuilding his site, I'm also building some other related stuff, you know, niching down in that. And I will own that, you know, those sites and that content on those sites. And I'll give him first right of refusal on that. And I know I could sell it off to somebody else if he don't want it. I'll just go like, here's these leads. Here's this vertical right here. Do you want it? If he says no, fine. And I've already told him that too. I didn't tell him exactly what I'm doing, but you know, I'll give him first right at it. But to answer the question, all the stuff that I'm building out, yes, I'll own, but for him, that'll be his.
Yeah, that's the way to go. And you know, I'm a big believer in, like, if you calculate your hourly wage for like doing SEO work versus the stuff that you own, it's a massive difference. And it seems like the better thing to do in the short term to do this like SEO work for someone else. But I mean, it's still an hourly rate. You know, I built my first site was a towing site. I didn't know what I know now then when I built it. So I built this towing site, and I probably put like 60 hours into it. And I've been started out at like $500 a month, and it's been $1,000 a month. And it's been about 6 years of this. And I've barely touched the site since then. And it just collects every month. And we were also in SEO, and we've done SEO where we were charging, you know, a couple $1,000s a month for a few clients, and we lost those clients. And once we lost them, it's like that hourly rate stopped. And you know, we might have been getting paid like 6 times as much, but I'm still spending money to do the work for there. But now I'm not doing any work on these lead gens, and it's like it's still collecting. So if you're on the fence about whether you should own it or not, or like SEO versus lead gen, this is a group that favors lead gen. There's a lot of different ways to be successful with this stuff. If SEO works for you, then like, hey, by all means, go do it. It's just my personal opinion, and you know, what my experience has shown me is like, try to own it as much as possible. And you know, when you position yourself as being the best in the market, then it doesn't really matter that you own it to the client. Like I've had this conversation a number of times with people where it's like, hey, I want you to do SEO for us, blah, blah, blah. No one ever is going to come to you and be like, hey, can I pay you monthly? And then just be in this relationship where you own it. And like, I have to do this forever to get, no one's going to come and say that to you. Right. But if you position things of like, hey, this is a partnership. What you're good at, like for Neil, like what you're good at is artificial grass, right? Installing the artificial grass. And what I'm good at is this stuff, and this stuff changes constantly. So what we've done is we've positioned things and we've set things up. So when you win, I win, right? Like we don't do contracts. So it's just based on the value. You can cancel anytime. But if you want somebody that is going to be aggressively focused on this stuff, and you know, your bill goes up when we bring you more business, our goals are aligned, and that's why it's a partnership. So that's kind of how I positioned it. And we get very little kickback when we try to have that conversation. But if you're not willing to have that conversation, you're going to end up with a bunch of clients that are SEO. I just will tell them no, essentially, like, sorry, that's not how we do business. So it's kind of like they're faced with, do you want to work with someone who is exceptional at this, or do you want to like go hire just another like everyday SEO person? And like, if you kind of take it off the table, and these people believe and trust in you, then they'll kind of mold to your business model. That's what I found out. But that's a big if, right? You've got to be able to position yourself and have the certainty in yourself and the confidence, because that's going to show through. If you guys are kind of like wavering and like unsure, then
Yeah,
they're going to pick up on that, and they're not going to go with it.
I definitely agree with that. I mean, that's how I win in those conversations, even if they're like, they don't get it, they're like, wait a minute, I just steamroll them with confidence. And by the end of the conversation, it's exactly like Patrick's saying, where they're just like, I've established myself as somebody who is going to dominate for them. And they're willing to take a shot on that most of the time, if they're the right client.
Right. It's also very low risk too, right? If they're just paying a startup fee, and then like I was meeting with a guy the other day, and he was talking about his it's actually in this park. I was on my way to the restroom, and I ended up meeting a potential client. But he's talking about how these SEO people had promised him, and they're all the same. That was how it started. And I was like, well, we don't do that. We charge a startup fee, and then you don't pay anything else until we bring you business. I was like, hey, if we don't bring you business, I don't even mind refunding you, but that's never happened. That's never happened with us. So this is how we do it. And, there was no doubt. He was like, okay, what about expanding into these other markets? I want to do this niche. And that whole part of the conversation ended within 15 or 20 minutes. And then it was more about hey, what if I want to go into all these other markets? Can you help me? It's completely different tone. It was like, it's already been established. You need to hold your ground though. You need to, don't be backing down if they give you a little kickback. Just pretend you can act as if you guys have, there's a really good movie called Boiler Room with Ben Affleck, where he brings in all these junior brokers who don't really know what they're doing, and they end up defrauding people. That's not what I'm saying to do, but there's a lesson in that where it's you can kind of act as if you've got this entire group to support you with people who have done big things in here that are willing to help you. So use the confidence from these people. We can get on these calls on a weekly basis, and we can walk you through the strategies of how to do that stuff, right? You can use that as your confidence. If you believe in us, if you believe in myself, you believe in Jeff, you've seen the success of so many other people in this group, use that as your backbone and act as if you're going to absolutely crush it for these people. And then we'll figure out how we make that happen, right? We'll give you the step-by-step instructions that have worked for us over and over again. But the point is, you act as if that you're going to own this town. Exactly what you're doing, even if you're kind of hey, I don't have all the results, but you, like I said, you've got a community of people that do. And at some point, you're going to especially after you produce your first one and you really start to get leads coming in, you will become this person. It doesn't mean that you're a jerk or anything, but they're going to test you. They don't believe in you. They don't know you. Just like if I came to you and I said, hey, I've got this special present for you in this box, and you don't really know me, and I'd like you to pay me $2,000 a month for it. How would you feel? You would be doubtful, right? And you're going to want to kind of cross-examine these people. And that's the same thing that they're going through. So it makes perfect sense. It's just kind of this belief in yourself. And it makes all the difference in the world, because I waffled all over the place when I first got started, and I didn't know, I didn't know how much of a difference it made. And then I got to the point where I couldn't handle more business. And I was like, we'll put you on a wait list. And it made these people even hungry. And it really started to click in my head, the psychological difference that had happened. You guys have probably seen this in all different parts of your life, where maybe you're playing basketball in a gym and somebody walks in and you're like, you've never seen this person play. And you're just like, man, that guy's probably going to he's just got that. He's got that X factor. Before he even shoots the ball, you're like, this person looks confident. This person knows what they're doing. I saw it all the time at the poker table. I could see people coming in, and I'm like, this person is trying to act cocky or whatever. This person immediately smells like they know what they're doing, right? Everyone's doing that. They can detect bullshit a mile away. They've heard this SEO pitch a dozen times, guys. So you have to differentiate yourself with something. Patrick, can you seal a sim? I'm sorry, go ahead, Jeff. Do you have a question or something?
I think so. Maybe.
No, I was going to say something here.
Okay,
That's exactly what this builder did the other day. Is that he's been burned so many times, and he was like, Greg, I got to make this thing work. And I said exactly. And I have a lot of background in the building trade. I grew up my stepfather was a building contractor, stuff like that. And I just put it back at him. I said, look, I know you're taking a chance on me, but I'm taking a chance on you as well. I said, I could be the best. I could bring you as many leads you want to. if I can, but if you can't sell them, if you can't close them, and if you don't have a good reputation like you do, then it's all for naught. So, we're taking a risk. I'm taking a risk here too as well. And he said, well, I got to have the site up and going. I said, look, I gave him a great analogy. I said, we're building this house over here, right? I said, we got to put down a great foundation. I said, we got to build the beams right. We got to dig them deep enough. We got to put enough rebar in them. We got to make sure the PSI is right on the pour. And then once we pour that concrete, we've got to make sure that it cures. If we don't do all that, we could build the best house, most beautiful house on top of it, the most fanciest house. And what's going to happen? If you don't, what's going to happen, Royce? It's going to crumble, right? He goes, yes, Greg, I get it. And I just had to not really put it in his face, but I just had to put it in terms that he understood, and then speak his language there. But
that's awesome. I feel that coming out of that confidence and passion coming out of you, that they're going to feel that, they're going to feel that confidence that you know what you're doing, and the confidence that you're going to want to do business with them. And that's going to make them want to do business with you even more.
Yeah. So I'll finish here. So, his defense kind of came down, and this, like what Patrick was saying a while ago, then his defense came down, and then it's like, okay, well, I want to expand over here, and I'm hiring a project manager, and we got another guy over here, and we want to expand here, here, and here. So we quickly shifted from, I need us to work, to like, how big can we expand this thing?
Yeah, that's that shift where you've kind of they're in at that point. It's just it goes from like a sales to a negotiation. I think it's also it's awesome if you can find a way to speak their language, then like you did here with the construction stuff, then they start to put you in, they move you from this like marketing SEO specialist to like, oh, this guy's like the builder SEO specialist, which is like, it's the reason why heart surgeons get paid. Like, hey, I've got a friend who is a heart surgeon, and he specializes in this like really uncommon defect for like hearts. And he makes like way more money than a normal doctor would make. He makes more money than a heart surgeon would make, and his schedule is always busy. It's that specialist. You can set yourself up as the specialist, just like Jackson was talking about, how he's kind of like positioning himself as the authority on like landscape marketing. We did the same thing. We have a niche that we've run all across the United States. And I've told this story a few times. Niching down is really, really important. We had a lady that was in Montana, and she reached out to us and said that she was referred. And, I gave her our minimum startup cost, and she's like, that's way more expensive than I thought. And I'm like, yeah, well, we sell Ferraris, not Honda Civics. Like, if you want to, this isn't for everyone. I'm constantly, when you guys have doubt, when someone expresses doubt, I immediately kind of go to a takeaway. Like, so she said, that's very expensive. And I said, hey, what we do is not for everyone. Like, I'm not going to grapple with this person to try to convince her. I'm going to let her know. And like, that's not how she's used. That's not how most people are used. That when you hear that, it's like, okay, this person is like, immediately flips a switch. They're not desperate. This person has a lot of value. So she went away for a month or so. And then she came back and said, I asked 9 people for referrals, and you guys came up 6 times. This is across the United States. So like, at that point, like, it's going to be really hard to not close this person when you've got that kind of reputation behind you. And we've positioned ourselves as the specialist within that niche. We know their language. We can speak their language. The sites get easier to build. We know the types of leads. All this stuff is really beneficial. I see your question here, Patrick. I'll come back to it. Why don't I hire for you doing SEO? I kind of addressed this a little bit. I don't know if that came before I did my little spiel, but it's basically, we don't do that. This is how we do it. Our services are in very high demand. We've done that. We've like a story that I use that's true is, we started out doing SEO, and we did a really good job, and then we got fired. The people loved us, but they said we're too busy, so it's not a good business model. When you get to a level where you can kind of when you get to a level where you have referrals coming in nonstop, you get to kind of choose the rules, and these are the rules that we've chosen. And when we do things this way, our goals are in alignment as to like, the more business I bring you, the more that we get paid, and we both want to move this forward. So it's designed, our system is designed for people that want to grow big businesses. And if that's not you, I totally get it. What we do is not for everyone, right? It's for people that want to grow big businesses. Some people like, hey, they don't want multiple crews. There's everyone's got their own business. You created this business because you wanted to set the rules. So if this doesn't align with where you want to go and how you want to set things up, then that's totally cool. So like, that's kind of what I would do if someone's saying, why don't I hire for SEO? I have this kind of like sincere, it is 100% sincere. I'm not going to build a site that they own. I'm not going to. I know how that's going to play out. I've already done this enough times, and it's some lessons you can't learn from someone else telling you. You have to shoot yourself in the foot a few times. I had people tell me this, I did it, and then I got sucked in multiple times. And then at some point I'm like, this is just stupid. I'm not doing this again. I'm done with this. Like, I just refuse to do it this way. And as the sales skills improved and like the confidence and like the certainty on what we're going to deliver improved, I found that it doesn't really change anything. We don't lose these people because of that conversation. Whereas before, I think I used to, and now like they almost get more excited by the fact that you're rejecting their offer and saying, nope, not going to do it that way, you know? So hopefully that gives you.
Yeah, maybe that's because they know it's not going to work too. They've already hired people to do that, and it hasn't worked. They've gotten swindled or whatever, wasted money, wasted time.
Yeah. So Greg's saying when someone says, I've heard this line before, I like it. When someone says that's too expensive, then like you can say like compared to what? Like eventually what I like to paint the picture, and I'm trying to do the same exact thing for you guys that are using our software, is I want to make it expensive for you guys not to use our services. I want to give so much value that if you don't use it, it's going to cost you money. And yes, it's our price is more expensive than like this other price, but it's and I always go back to, especially if it's a guy in the contractor space, like cars are something that like that's an easy thing. So like, yes, a Ferrari is more expensive than a Honda Civic. We're the best at what we do, and we don't sell it for these other prices. Just like, and here's immediately go to them, right? Like, are you guys selling the cheapest stuff in town? Or are there people that do worse work? You guys charge a premium for being great at what you do. So Greg, it's the same thing. We're doing the same thing. Like we're like, and I encourage you, if this doesn't sound, if you don't want to work with a company that's focused on this, then choose someone else, because this isn't going to work out. It's going to be frustrating for both of us, right? Like I said, we're designed to take over an entire market. Like I go back to, I played a lot of sports, so I always go back, especially with the guys. I go back to sports. I'm very competitive. When we come into a market, we are absolutely going to demolish the competition. Like, we're putting a dartboard on the wall and we're going to throw darts at them. They don't know a war has started, but we are coming for them, and we are not going to stop until we absolutely destroy them. They are not welcome on the first page when we're in that market, right? That I kind of view that as my yard, and I don't want these people in my yard, right? So that's kind of like, I try to get them like, you kind of get that emotion in there. And I mean it, like, you guys can probably feel it. I mean it. I want, like, I want to, it's not so much about the money. It's like a game, right? It's a video game or like a sport. Like I'm competitive. I want to win. And their competition is my competition. I let them know that. And like, you kind of start combining some of these things in there. And it's like, I mean, our close rate, when all this stuff kind of got blended in together correctly, our close rate is very, very high. And it almost never happens where, it never happens where the person's like qualified and it probably happens sometimes, but very rarely, where the person is like qualified, they want to grow a big company, and then they're just like, they don't move forward with us, right? And I don't think there's anything special about this. It's just, it was reps. It was just a bunch of practice on this stuff, and eventually we got us to the spot where, like, we're comfortable with the lines, and you guys got to have your own stories and stuff, right? It's it has to be authentic to you. Like me coming from a sports background, I think about those games and those like the competition of it. Like I feel it when I'm saying it. So if you don't have that and then you try to put it in, it's not going to come across as true. It's not going to ring true for the people listening to it. So I think it's always important to be authentic with this type of stuff. Jeff, I think we're not live on Facebook, so I think the questions are all limited to Zoom today, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are
Yeah.
live on YouTube, but I don't even know how that works as far as like getting comments and whatever.
We'll have to get this thing sorted out next week. But a couple of things I wanted to talk to you guys about. So I went and I did another mastermind this last week in Nashville. And for me, the sales and marketing part is not where I struggle. It's, and like I've talked about this in the past, as you grow, it shouldn't look like this. It's going to look like this, right? And you're going to hit steps and you're going to have kind of plateau for a little while. So I have noticed, and it's my belief, I was actually talking to Nick Wood about this. I think that was yesterday, about like building a big business. And the common thing that I think a lot of people miss on is operations, right? So when I was at this mastermind this last week, I want to meet with the operations person. So what the format is, they present you with a few different topics and they teach you some strategies that they think are going to apply to a big number of the people in the group. And then there's the opportunity to go and talk to the head of their different departments. So they have like client success, they have sales, marketing, and operations. I think that's what it is. So I always go to operations and I talk to these people, and I think it's a very common issue that a lot of you guys have. So let's talk about operations. So operations is not like a single department. So if you were to split up your business and say, hey, this is like the financial and marketing, and then you've got like fulfillment or client success, like operations kind of permeates all these different parts, right? And for those of you guys that are struggling and you don't seem to have things streamlined, right, then this could be an operations issue on some level. So the book that I've recommended time and time again, I'm actually on my third time reading it now, is Traction. So this is an operations book on how to like streamline your business. And I think one of the things I'm going to be doing is hiring like a professional. So EOS, it stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System. If you guys haven't been through this book, I think it's one of the best like operations management books that are out there. There's just a lot of principles that you put in place. So I'm going to hire this EOS implementation specialist to come and work with us in our business. And, I'll share the things that I learned from this. At this mastermind, there's a guy who is like, he's this person, he's an implementation specialist. And I spent a lot of time talking with him and the operations guy. So talking to the operations guy, he was like, some of the big takeaways that I had is he talked about how he had worked for, I think it was a Fortune 100 company, and he was in operations. And he had bounced around between different big corporations that he had worked for. And he didn't really like working for corporate America, which is like a common thing. But the reason he didn't like it is maybe different than most people. So what he was saying is he didn't like it because like they already had everything figured out, right? So all of these Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, they have everything figured out. They have all their processes dialed in. And that's a big part of why they are where they are, right? So yep, that's the one, Greg. So if you're somewhere along that way, I don't think we have any Fortune 500 companies on this call. So if you're on your way, like there's a reason why these are there, and operations never ends, but it becomes like less creative, right? So seeing that these big successful companies all have this in common is like success leaves clues. So we should model that, right? So I started asking him, like, how do you find these operations people? And there's kind of two types of people that we have. There's visionaries and there's integrators. Okay, so we kind of like fall into those. So visionaries, I'm a visionary. Jeff is a visionary. We have these ideas. We can come up with like solutions for problems, but the execution of the problems can feel monotonous to us, right? Like, I don't like doing these like constant repeatable tasks. Like I will do them to get to where I need to go. And that's why we've kind of like been able to build this, but it's been painful for me to write out SOPs. But some types of personalities enjoy that, right? So you need to find someone like this, and you can have, like, maybe your company isn't where it needs to be able to hire somebody that is going to be this like full-time integrator, or it would be like a COO, Chief Operating Officer, right? I think that's what that stands for. But that's essentially the type of person that you need. And they have these infractional pieces. And there's also, you could hire a consultant. This doesn't have to be as scary as, like, yes, these people are going to get paid like more than probably 100K a year, but maybe bringing in someone like this for a few hours to give you advice on how to streamline things in your business could come back to you 10, 100-fold, right? Especially for things that are constantly being repeated, right? So getting some processes in place and then learning the foundation of how to put these processes in place is huge. And that's kind of what that traction is about. So I was asking him, where do you find these people? Where do you hire? Where do you recommend hiring these people from? And he told me that all of his best hires have come from his own network, right? His own personal, not like job boards and stuff like this, like finding people that he knows, that he respects, that he thinks are great at what they do, and then like recruiting them. So we probably all know people that are visionaries and integrators in our lives somewhere. So here's a test. I was like, how do you test these people on whether they're a visionary or an integrator? And he said, this was like so simple and amazing. So how do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? That was his question. So for me, I get a piece of bread, I put peanut butter on it, I get another piece of bread, I put jelly on it, I combine them and I eat them, right? That's what it is for a visionary. You ask an integrator that question and they're going to answer something like this. Do I have the peanut butter already? Do I have the jelly? Okay, so I've got both. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this cabinet over here. It's the third cabinet from the right, and I'm going to pull out the plate. I'm going to set the plate onto the table. I'm going to open up the drawer. I'm going to pull out the knife, and they're going to go through every little like detailed step. For me, it's excruciating just to describe that and go into the steps where I'm just like, I'm like, let's go faster, 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 you know. But there's people who love that and we need people like that to help us streamline some of our stuff, because if you're a visionary and you're just doing the high level stuff, the weakness of the owner is going to be the weakness of the business a lot of times, right? So this is going to be passed on. You're also going to kind of like vibe more with certain personality types, right? So for me, I hired Jeff. Jeff's another visionary. We think in the same way. And you know, there's a lot of people within my company that have that, and I've realized the penalty that we're paying for that. So I think this was that was some of the big takeaways for me from this last these last few days. So I would encourage you guys, as you scale your business, to be thinking about some of this stuff. It doesn't have to be so like big and bad, but you do need to have these kind of like SOPs in place. So SOP is standard operating procedure. If you guys haven't heard that term, you have to have playbooks. You need to have this stuff documented, and you need to document it in a way that like a child can understand. You need to document it in a way where you hire somebody that is not an expert in this field, and they can see it and they can go through and they can follow it and be successful with it. And when you do this and they have questions, that's feedback that you need to adjust your system, right? Just like for you guys, when you guys have questions about how LeadSnap works, then it's like, for me, I'm like, why does this person have this question? Because I kind of feel like I failed the person if they have the question. And like I have so much going on to try to fix some of the confusing parts of our system that you guys haven't seen. But every single time one of those questions come in, I'm like, okay, that's feedback. You need to do the same thing with your SOPs, right? Or like whatever you're building out. And you need to have this stuff in a spot that is going to be easily accessible and shareable. So it's best, you don't need to build out a whole website for it. We built a website for it. I don't recommend doing that. Let's start simple. If that is needed later on, then you can do that. You can just start with Google Drives, right? And you can divide up the SOPs by the roles, right? So you could say that, okay, this is like my backlinker, and this is my website builder, and I've got different folders here, and here's the different steps. Maybe have like a master page with links to other pages that are like, okay, this is an overview of the role, and then here's a list of links, and then each one kind of links to the SOP that it's associated with. You've got to have a system in place. Not only is it going to allow you to streamline things It's going to prevent mistakes from being made. It's going to make your company more valuable. Like if you look at companies that have SOPs in play for everything, and you were to go and try to sell this company, if that's not there, like, so it's like, how is the new person supposed to take over that? There's a reason why this is valuable. This is where you go from being like self-employed to owning a business. So the difference being like, you have the ability to step away and do something else. If you're self-employed and you step away, everything stops, right? So one of the things that we have in our agency, and I think that, when I hired Jeff, that was kind of like where like he took a lot of work off my plate that was hard to replace, to have someone that's like actually talking to my clients and doing the sales stuff. All of these pieces didn't happen overnight. I just kept like adjusting, and to be honest, it's not perfect at all. Like we have a lot of leaks that we're trying to plug, but the fact that we've been able to get it to this point where I could go and invest my time and build a software company while traveling around the world is a testament to the fact that we have all these SOPs. Like I recorded video after video. Here's what you can do is you can record yourself and just talk through the process, right? And maybe it's like a 45-minute explanation to explain something that takes 7 minutes. And you could have this video be edited and prepared by a VA. Be like, hey, this is what I want you to do. I want you to cut out the stuff that doesn't matter in here. And I want you to turn everything into a checklist that I'm doing. And then I want you to have somebody else that doesn't know how to do this, get the feedback and find out what we need to change, right? That's you could do that tomorrow, right? You could start to have your SOPs and just put them in Google Drive. And this is the beginning of how you're going to scale your company, right? Is you can't scale it if you have to teach everyone everything every time, right? So another idea that I'm excited for is this, what we're calling our Protege Method. So I've got 3 managers in my company that kind of delegate. And what I want to do is I'm going to have my managers, each one of them, train a protege so that we can have 6 managers, right? And they're going to be responsible for a project, and they go and build it, and they like interact with them, correct them. And then, probably after like the 3rd project, I think they might be able to be on their own a little bit, right? So we need to be putting these things in place though. Like if you guys want to scale, but honestly, you can't do any of that stuff unless you know these methods, right? You can't train someone on something you don't understand, right? And you can't count on them to do it right if there's no playbook, there's no way to evaluate it, right? So a big part of the EOS framework and the traction book is weekly scorecards. So this is something that's we put in play for some of our team, and then I never got it in place for my managers. And then this last week, I had this opportunity to talk to these people at this mastermind. And here's where I really struggled is like a lot of our managers, they might be managing like 20 projects. So how can I have like monthly and quarterly goals that include so many projects? Because I don't want their quarterly goal to be like, hey, get this one website to rank. We've got 20 that you have ownership for. So one of the things we recently did is I had one of my managers go through and build a playbook with like every single thing that we do along the way. So we're dividing things into like 3 phases. So we have like the build phase, and these are things that are all they could be checkbox. It's a yes or no whether they're completed. That's different than kind of like our ranking phase where it's like, hey, what's the heat map average for this GMB for the top 10 keywords? That's something that is not a question of just completing it, right? So let me give you an example. 1,500 pages, 1,500 words on the homepage. Yes or no? Yes. Do we have a GMB? Yes. Do we have like 5 reviews for the GMB? Yes. So those are things that are a part of our build phase. Then we move into the ranking phase, right? And then finally we have like the ongoing maintenance phase, because we all agreed that this site will never be finished really. But once we get into that ongoing maintenance phase, then can kind of just like almost be on autopilot. We're just kind of like doing a few things a month, backlinks, add a few pages, this type of stuff. So now we have like a percentage of completion for the build phase. And that's how I can have that score across a list of priority sites. So that's kind of how I set it up, so that we could have, like, they have 20 projects. What is the percentage of completion for your 20 projects? What's the target? Like, we need this percentage. And then we're kind of like, each week, we're basically, just like I had you guys do with your accountability groups, you want to reverse engineer your goals. So if you've got like 90-day goals, then like, what do you need to be doing each week to ensure that we hit that 90-day goal? Like, we can break down the build phase, each one, right? And we like, the idea is that you set up the milestones and the parts of your build phase to guarantee success on the other end. So like the amount of leads or your heat map average, those are lagging indicators, right? They happen after things have been done, right? The amount of phone calls, those are all a product of things being done. So what are the leading indicators that you need to do to ensure that the lagging indicators get to what you need? So that means, so like for us, we were going through this, like, okay, we think that maybe we're going to need like 3 to 5 GMBs, right? And we know that we're going to need like 5 reviews for the GMBs. And we know that we're going to need like a DR and UR from Ahrefs backlink analyzer of like 20, right? So if we start to like stack all these different things, then we believe that we can manufacture the leads and the good rankings, right? So we're taking the things that we can guarantee can happen, and we're stacking up enough of those. And if we do all these things, then we believe that it's going to create this like amount of leads and stuff. So that's kind of, I don't know if this is clear to you guys, or like maybe you were already thinking this way, but that's how we've structured it, so that like you want your milestones to kind of like guarantee success, right? I know that if I get this, and maybe it needs to be different for each project, right? Maybe like, hey, we're going into this market, and we, for this one, for these GMBs to be ahead of the competition, we know we need 20 reviews on each one. Okay, so if it's going to be 20 reviews over 90 days, then I need to be getting like 3.5 or something, or 4, I don't know, whatever, 4.25 a week, right? Or you do the math, right? Figure it out and say, okay, this is what we have to do to ensure the success. Guys, this doesn't have to be such a mystery on why things are not working, right? If you just turn this into like mathematics and logic and work backwards, we can, like, I feel really certain that we're going to get there with our projects. It's just a matter of time, right? Sometimes we might miss the mark. It's a great opportunity to learn. All right, cool. I see, Graham, my biggest goal for the next 2 months is completing our SOPs. I love it, man. I think that it is, I think it's a phenomenal way to kind of ensure that your business is positioned to scale. And, you know, what I found is we tried to expand so quickly with that visionary attitude and not the integrator attitude. We had cars going down the assembly line with no steering wheel, and we didn't find out until we were like way down the road. We're like, oh, so that doesn't have like, so there's no backlinks, or like that's missing, like we don't have any live GMBs on this one. We didn't know, like we didn't have a system in place. I have something I'm working on. It's not ready. It's probably a few months off. It's not part of the software. It's part of another software that we're using. I'm going to give you guys at some point this, we're building this. We're using, if you guys haven't seen Notion, Notion's awesome. It's like this relational database where you can like say like, hey, these are the websites. This is my, it's like a spreadsheet where it's like, hey, these are my list of websites. You have a second spreadsheet. These are my list of GMBs. And you can say, this website relates to this GMB. And then I could make a kind of a view that says, show me the GMBs for that are associated with this website that have less than like X amount of reviews. So like, it's really cool. So you have like this type of data and this type of data, and there's a relationship, and you can relate those, and then you can rely on those relationships to build dashboards. It's super cool. I have this goal to kind of build one out that could be more universal, and I think it would be a really valuable resource. We don't have ours dialed in yet. I've hired a Notion expert to kind of like consult with us. I see that we're about over time. I see Patrick for getting GMBs. Is there a 360 camera photography method? How does that work? There is. If I don't know if that's lost favor over time, or if that's still something that's really valid. I know we used to do it. There's a friend of mine who kind of specialized in that. I don't really hear many people talk about it. Like I'm talking to I try to form relationships with the people that I believe are like the highest level in the industry. And to be honest, I haven't heard of anyone mentioning that at all. So I would, my personal viewpoint, I wouldn't focus on it. I would just like focus on the stuff that we know works. And I mean, you're welcome to experiment with it, but I just haven't heard anyone mention that stuff in a couple years.
It can be good for prospecting, I think, but I don't know about for getting GMBs.
Or for ranking. I don't know if it's really going to give you a huge edge. Okay. I had one other thought. Yep, you are welcome, Mr. Patrick. God, I lost my train of thought. Jeff, do you have anything to add to any of this? Have I missed any questions?
You haven't missed any questions. I'm on. I definitely agree with all the stuff that you're laying down right now.
Yo, I got a quick question on the reviews, real quick, because you mentioned not sending text for the reactivation campaign. I was going to send out a review campaign for a client tomorrow and do like the text email combo. Do you think things should be good that way?
100%. I am not an attorney, but 100% think that you'll be fine.
Yeah.
I think it's my confident belief that the problem relates to marketing and trying to add requests that people spend money, right? But I haven't heard. I know that it is. I know that you can get yourself into trouble for like doing fake reviews and this type of thing. But for requesting real reviews from people that have had service from the company, I haven't heard of that being a problem with anyone in the past. But like I said, I'm not an attorney, so kind of proceed at your own. My personal opinion, I would feel very confident in that. I wouldn't have any worries at all.
Do we have, can we take just like maybe a little quick moment here to talk about how everybody's doing with GMB verifications? Are you guys having good success? I don't want this to like spin off into another 30 minutes on the call, but does anybody have any like immediate feedback on how they're doing with GMB verifications?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I just got 2 like instant verified.
Or that you think those are going to stick?
Yeah, I mean, well, they're sticking right now. One was just my client gave me 4 addresses, so it was a referral that I got. She gave me 4 addresses, and then 2 of them I put all the GMBs on the same site with like location pages.
Are you doing anything to get any kind of backlinking or social?
Well, I think, yeah, just a couple. That niche is kind of easy. So I think that's part of it as well. Yeah, I think that might be part of it. That the niche is kind of easy, but I just had to do like an email verification.
Do you want us to make the niche tougher?
What's up?
Do you want us to make the niche tougher?
No, it's awesome, man. I already got 5 to 6 leads coming in, and I did the startup fee like you were talking about. I did $1,500 up front, and I already got 5 leads. So we're gonna move to $2,000 on Monday already.
That's cool, man. I think I saw in the accountability group chat that you were that it looked like you were crushing it.
Yeah, I'll be at 21K recurring.
That's
on Monday.
That's awesome, man. What were you at 6 months ago?
Well, I was at that like fluctuating between 6 and 8K for a while. I mean, in December I was at 6,600.
Wow. So you've added like 15K in 2 months?
Mostly last like month. Yeah.
What changed?
Just charging higher prices. I got 3 referrals in the last like 3 weeks as well. And then I've gone to 4 clients and I jacked their price up because they're not paying me enough. But just getting on a Zoom call with them, that's been the biggest thing. Before I was just doing phone calls. Yeah. But just showing them everything. I think I was hesitant before of like showing them my sites because I was afraid they were going to do something about it. And they're not. So I'm just showing them everything. So we're on the same page, so they know where the leads are coming from. And then, you know, using the lead value calculator, we're like showing, hey, this is what the leads are. What's your average profit? And then, you know, coming up with a number that makes sense. Because, man, I was getting people that were, you know, wanted to do $150, $200. And now the same leads, I'm getting $2,000 for it. So
yeah, I think I was a part of that conversation at one point where you said you were I don't know if it was on one of these calls or if it was in a Zoom chat that we were, I can't remember, but I remember you were like, I'm getting like $300, and
yeah,
it was, I was like that. Yeah, get rid of them. Like,
yeah.
is that on here? Am I imagining that, or did that like, I feel like that happened.
Yeah, no, that's
cool, man.
So yeah, the lowest.
Sorry, guy. I got a cautionary tale for G&B owners and manager accounts. A post that I came across where they had multiple G&Bs got nuked because the manager account had been doing pin drops, so all of them got wiped. So whatever you're using for your manager account for your G&Bs, make sure it's clean as a whistle and hasn't been up to any nefarious activities.
They were all under one account, all under one manager account.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, if this isn't clear, let me make it clear. I never put more than one GMB in one email account under any, like, it's just, I avoid that at all costs. I've heard of people losing like 200 GMBs in one shot. They were all in one account. Graham, you win the coolest background award. I'm getting hypnotized by those blocks moving in and out. That's super cool. I want to tell you, Graham has one of the, I think you got some great news about your mother, huh?
Yeah, dude, we've had a really bad run. Like, my dad broke his hip, worst break doctor's ever seen. My car got written off, you know, a few days ago. My mum had like a growth and she went in and had like heaps of tumor removed, and she had to go back in a second time, and they weren't sure if it was, you know, gonna take her out, and they operated on her again, and they sent off the piece that they cut out to pathology, and it came back negative for cancer, man. So, you know, so cool, all this shit's been going on, man. It's like, we got some good news, you know. That's awesome, man. That's I saw that, and I was so excited to hear that, man. I know that you've been kind of stressed, and I've kind of got this like mentality. Sometimes you got to take the garbage out, man. So you got an empty trash can, all the garbage is out on the street, so you can kind of focus on the positive stuff now, man, and you know, enjoy the rest of 2022 and awesome things happening to you, man. Thanks, brother. Yeah, you know what? Life is what you make it. It's all about your attitude to you know, I mean, don't get stressed over the things you can't control. Just focus on the things you can, and it'll work its way out in the end, you know. It's like, look at this group of people, mate, all these talented dudes, you know, all on the journey of discovery and learning and having fun, and like, you know, a lot of us are reliving life and getting back years that we lost, and like, it's just I don't know, mate, even just hanging out with you guys, like, even my mindset's changed a lot over the past year or two, like even health, physical wise, things like that. It really does make sense that you got to surround yourself with the right people. Like, once you're in that ecosystem with those people, you get that group think thing happening, and you'll notice that everyone's on an upper. Whenever there's a comment or someone stuck in the group, it's always positive stuff. It's always positive mental attitude. And I think it's very, very important you have yourself in that right environment, surround yourself with the right friends. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. That's it's you've got like decisions every time something happens. How you're going to interpret this? Like, what are you going to take away from this? You know, I had some fraud and in our business, and it cost me about $6,000. It all happened within within a few days. My viewpoint was like, man, what an awesome thing to happen to us, because it could have been 100 times worse. And I was like in a situation where I could respond to it, and then we plugged the leak and we fixed it. And now that's like, it's an awesome learning experience. We hired somebody, they kind of look things over, and they give us a lot of advice. And actually somebody tried to like, it got tested a few days ago, and the test was like successful on our end, where
things were shut down really quickly. And so it was awesome to have it be that way, because it could have been so much worse. Right. And I know a lot of people are going to look at that and think that you're forcing it, but it's all perspective, man. It's like, if you guys haven't read the book, or actually I recommend listening to this audiobook by Jocko Willink, Extreme Ownership. He was a Navy SEAL. Like, he actually narrates the book. It's phenomenal. Like, talking about, like, it's all mindset. Some of the most successful people, they just like have run into it time and time again, but you would never know that because of the way that they view things. And it's awesome. I had a big realization about 2 weeks ago. I spent some time with some family, and I had this habit. I always try, like, I think it's I'm proud to have this habit. I try to see the best in people, and it doesn't always, when you're around negative people and you have that mindset that you see the best in people, you don't always realize the negativity that they're bringing. But after a few days of being around some people, I was like, God, I got to get out of here. This is just like killing me. I didn't just like clicked of why it was happening. It was like, it's that, like, you don't always see the people for being negative. But when you're around these people, I left that and I went to an event where it was just like all super positive people. And I was like so energized. I was drained after leaving the first one. And after a few days, that was in Jeff, when we were in Orlando for the last mastermind, being around those people, I was like energized. I was like, man, these guys are just doing such like awesome stuff. Like, they're so like they you guys have been in an event where they want you to get up and like jump around and like kind of get the energy flowing. So a lot of times when they have those type of things, you'll look around and it'll be like 40 or 50% participation. But at this event, with the mindset of these people, it was like almost every single person is like doing aerobics and like to try to like following the person up. It was just a mindset of like going after life and not like worrying about, all this other like bullshit that we worry about. This group of people all kind of had the same mentality. I'm like it's awesome when you're around those people. And sometimes you don't realize what's missing until you see it, like, until you're like in another spot, and then you can kind of look back and compare it. But
what's the old saying, Pat? Misery enjoys its own company.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
I remember reading a book about a guy who's really optimistic and enthusiastic kind of guy, and he had to carpool with this bloke to go to work. And this guy was really negative. He goes, honestly, after 2 weeks, he goes, he actually brought me down that bad. He goes, I started emulating the guy, like, these people are infectious, whether it be positive or negative. So, I've cut friends from my inner circle that I've known for 10, 20 years. I've made that calculated decision to say, hey, I really, as a friend, fishing and stuff, but I've got to remove this person from my life because it's not aligned with my agenda. My agenda is to be successful and to be positive and, to move forward. And you just got to cut those ties, guys. If anyone's, even with your family, so you can pick your friends, not your family. Bullshit. You can pick your family too, man. You just block the number.
Yeah, you got to get rid of that stinking thinking. And you surround the people with, we're all chameleons, right? And so if you hang around Graham a lot, you might get him a funny accent like him, or if you hang around somebody like you may talk like me. So you become whoever you most associate around. So you have to be very, very careful of who you hang out with.
Yeah, for absolutely. Sure. I think Patrick and I both noticed that in that room in particular, and just kind of as you guys are talking about it again, and that kind of mentality is like everybody in that room was a founder, CEO, probably doing some decent numbers at least. And it seemed like overall having, 200 people in that category in the same place, like there's a theme there. Like they seemed like they had their shit together in some way, that is somewhat intangible, but, somewhat tangible too. It's like everybody was, just that mindset that they had was showing through in all of the actions that they were taking throughout the event, I guess is a short way to put it.
Yeah, they had as a part of that event, they had this thing called Sweat Every Day, where they had a 6 a.m. run for like 3 miles, and there's 200 people, and I heard they had like 40 people that were on this run at 6 a.m. Like, and Jeff and I were looking around the room, And I was like, all these people are like in good shape. Like it looked like almost everyone in the room could probably go run like 2 or 3 miles. And like, I don't know how it is in like Australia and some of these other countries around the world, but in the United States, it's, if you were in a room that was like general public, I think it would be impossible to look around a room of 200
Yeah.
people and like go to the mall or
Right.
someplace and look around at 200 people and see if you think that like 95% of these people could run like 2 or 3 miles without that was not, we weren't there for fitness at all. That wasn't a part of this, but there's just like healthy habits are going to like create energy for you and longevity, and like, you know, like how you do one thing is how you're going to do a lot of things. Like most people don't, hey, I'm going to like put 100% effort into my business and I'm going to put 0% effort into my health. Like most people are going to try to overachieve in all these different parts of their life, and they're going to like make adjustments to try to fix things. They're reading books and like, hey, I need to like tweak this one part of my life. It's not really working. So I'm going to hire someone. Someone asked me this last week. I always wanted to ask these questions when I was coming up and trying to figure out how things work. And someone asked me like, what would you tell Patrick of like 6 years ago? And my response was, I would have hired, oh, Jeff, that was when we were in that, I ran into a high school buddy at that event, and we were in that hot tub chatting, right, with George.
Right.
And so my advice is I would have hired experts earlier to teach me things so that I could go faster. And it seems like scary and expensive, but now that's like that's what I'm doing with these masterminds is I'm hiring experts. I want someone who is awesome at what they do to be able to look at this and say, hey, here's the adjustment that you need to make, because when you're doing things at scale, that small adjustment, and a lot of times it's going to be a big adjustment, gets multiplied over and over again. And it's you need other people's insight to look at things and point out like where you have a blind spot. So I think, Jeff, are we ready to wrap this one? Do you have anything to add?
We're bumping up on 90 minutes. Just a final thought on that is that, you know, I think that people who are playing at that level of that particular room that we were in with successful businesses and whatnot, like they have to be, you know, hyper productive, and it only gets more and more, you know, more and more pressure on that equation every day with everything that's happening in the world. And so there's no way that you can produce that level of valuable output in whatever fashion that they're doing if you're not taking your life holistically. You're getting enough sleep, you got good nutrition, you're in health, you know, you got your exercise, and you're learning and growing in all these other ways as far as like leadership, you know, management, sales, all of that stuff comes together. And I think that was a great example of a room full of people that are focusing on all of those things at once, which is impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. I know we didn't really have like it's kind of bounced around in this call. I like to do these sometimes where we just riff. But 7 days, guys, let's make sure that we're moving towards, we're moving our business forward. You got 7 days before our next call. Do what you have to do to move your business forward, guys. Make the steps. Have enough self-awareness to look at this and diagnose where there's a problem. Don't avoid it because you're not comfortable with it, because that's not what's going to move the dial for you. If you're the bottleneck in your business, consciously think about how you can not be that bottleneck. How can you fix that piece, right? You guys have an awesome week. Congrats to you guys that had the wins. For those that didn't, I'd love to see you guys create those. Jeff and I are working on really coming up with some gamification stuff that I'm excited to launch with you guys. We also have some LeadSnap swag and stuff like that that's going to be coming out for those of you guys that are interested in the cool shirts, hoodies, stuff like this. All right, you guys have an awesome week. Everybody stay safe and healthy, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Take care, everybody.
Adios, amigos.
Hey, everybody. Have a good one.
Have a good one.